Hi again, everyone. We're here for our chapter book story time at the Caribou Public Library. Thanks for joining us. I'm Miss Erin, and we are continuing to read Bambi today. So, we're in the middle of chapter 2, and Bambi and his mother have gotten to the meadow, and they are out in the middle of it. Bambi is excited to be in the sunshine and leap all over the place, right? All right. Bambi was a child. If he had been a human child, he would have shouted. But he was a young deer, and deer cannot shout. At least not the way human children do. So he rejoiced with his legs and with his whole body as he flung himself into the air. His mother stood by and was glad. She saw that Bambi was wild. She watched how he bounded into the air and fell again awkwardly in one spot. She saw how he stared around him, dazed and bewildered, only to leap up over and over again. She understood that Bambi knew only the narrow deer tracks in the forest, and how his brief life was used to the limits of the thicket. He did not move from one place because he did not understand how to run freely around the open meadow. So she stretched out her 4 feet and bent laughingly toward Bambi for a moment. Then she was off with one bound, racing around in a circle so that the tall grass stems swished. Bambi was frightened and stood motionless. Was that a sign for him to run back to the thicket? His mother had said to him, "Don't worry about me no matter what you see or hear, just run as fast as you can." He was going to turn around and run as she had commanded him to, but his mother came galloping up suddenly. She came up with a wonderful swishing sound and stopped 2 steps in front of him, or away from him. She bent toward him, laughing as she had at first, and cried, "Catch me." And in a flash she was gone. Bambi was puzzled. What did she mean? Then she came back again, running so fast that it made him giddy. She pushed his flank with her nose and said quickly, "Try to catch me," and fled away. Bambi started after her. He took a few steps, then his steps became short bounds, and he felt as if he were flying without any effort on his part. There was a space under his hooves, space under his bounding feet, space and still more space. Bambi was beside himself with joy. The swishing grass sounded wonderful to his ears. It was marvelously soft and as fine as silk where it brushed against him. He ran round in a circle. He turned and flew off in a new circle, turning around again and kept running. His mother was standing still, getting her breath again. She kept following Bambi with her eyes. He was wild. Suddenly the race was over. He stopped and came up to his mother, lifting his hooves elegantly. He looked joyfully at her. Then they strolled contentedly side by side. Since he had been in the open, Bambi had felt the sky and the sun and the green meadow with his whole body. He took one blinding, giddy glance at the sun, and he felt its rays as they lay warmly on his back. Presently, he began to enjoy the meadow with his eyes also. Its wonders amazed him at every step he took. You could not see the tiniest speck of earth the way you could in the forest. Blade after blade of grass covered every inch of the ground. It tossed and waved luxuriantly. It bent softly aside under every footstep, only to rise up unharmed again. The broad green meadow was starred with white daisies, with the thick round red and purple clover blossoms, and bright golden dandelion heads. "Look, look, Mother!" he exclaimed. "There's a flower flying." "That's not a flower," said his mother. "That is a butterfly." Bambi stared at the butterfly, entranced. It had darted lightly from a blade of grass and was fluttering almost in its giddy way. Or was fluttering about in its giddy way. Then Bambi saw that there were many butterflies flying in the air above the meadow. They seemed to be in a hurry and yet moved slowly, fluttering up and down in a sort of game that delighted him. They really did look like gay flying flowers that would not stay on their stems, but had unfastened themselves in order to dance a little. They looked, too, like flowers that had come to rest at sundown but have no fixed places and have to hunt for them, dropping down and vanishing as if they really had settled somewhere, and yet always flying up again, a little way at first, then higher and higher, and always searching farther and farther, because all the good places have already been taken. Bambi gazed at them all. He would have loved to see one close by. He wanted to see one face to face, but he was not able to. They sailed in and out continually. The air was aflutter with them. When he looked down at the ground, again, he was delighted with the thousands of living things he saw stirring under his hoofs. They ran and jumped in all directions. He would see a wild swarm of them, and the next moment they had disappeared in the grass again. "Who are they, Mother?" he asked. "Those are ants," his mother answered. "Look," cried Bambi. "See that piece of grass jumping? Look how high it can jump." "That's not grass," his mother explained. "That's a nice grasshopper." "Why does he jump that way?" asked Bambi. "Because we're walking here," his mother answered. "He's afraid we'll step on him." "Oh," said Bambi, turning to the grasshopper who was sitting on a daisy. "Oh," he said politely, "you don't have to be afraid. We won't hurt you." "I'm not afraid," the grasshopper replied in a quavering voice. "I was only frightened for a moment, when I was talking to my wife." "Excuse us for disturbing you," said Bambi shyly. "Not at all," the grasshopper quavered. "Since it's you, it's perfectly all right. But you never know who's coming, and you have to be careful." "This is the first time in my life that I've ever been on the meadow," Bambi explained. "My mother brought me." The grasshopper was sitting with his head lowered as though he were going to butt. He put on a serious face and murmured, "That doesn't interest me at all. I haven't time to stand here gossiping with you. I have to be looking for my wife. Hop!" And he gave a hop. "Hop!" said Bambi in surprise at the high jump with which the grasshopper vanished. Bambi said to his mother, "Mother, I spoke to him," he cried. "To whom?" his mother asked. "To the grasshopper," Bambi said. "I spoke to him. He was very nice to me, and I like him so much. He was so wonderful and green, and you can see through his sides. They look like leaves, but you can't see through a leaf." "Those are his wings," said his mother. "Oh," Bambi went on, "and his face is so serious and wise. But he was very nice to me anyhow. And how he can jump! Hop, he said, and he jumped so high I couldn't see him any more." They walked on. The conversation with the grasshopper had excited Bambi and tired him a little, for it was the first time he'd ever spoken to a stranger. He felt hungry and pressed close to his mother and nursed. Here's a picture while Bambi was looking at all the butterflies. Then he stood quietly and gazed dreamily into space for a little while with the sort of joyous ecstasy that came over him every time he was nursed by his mother. He noticed a bright flower moving in the tangled grasses. Bambi looked more closely at it. No, it wasn't a flower, but a butterfly. Bambi crept closer. The butterfly hung heavily to a grass stem and fanned its wings slowly. "Please sit still," Bambi said. "Why should I sit still? I'm a butterfly," the insect answered in astonishment. "Oh, please sit still just for a minute," Bambi pleaded. "I've wanted so much to see you close. Please." "Well," said the butterfly, "for your sake I will, but not for long." Bambi stood in front of him. "How beautiful you are," he cried, fascinated. "How wonderfully beautiful, like a flower." "What?" cried the butterfly, fanning his wings. "Did you say like a flower? In my circle, it's generally supposed we are handsomer than flowers." Bambi was embarrassed. "Oh, yes," he stammered, "much handsomer. Excuse me, I only meant—" "Whatever you meant is all one to me," the butterfly replied. He arched his thin body affectedly and played with his delicate feelers. Bambi looked at him enchanted. "How elegant you are," he said. "How elegant and fine, and how splendid and wide your wings are." The butterfly spread his wings wide apart, then raised them till they folded together like an upright sail. "Oh," cried Bambi, "I know that you are handsomer than the flowers. Besides, you can fly, and the flowers can't because they grow on stems. That's why." The butterfly spread his wings. "It's enough," he said, "that I can fly." He soared so lightly that Bambi could hardly see him or follow his flight. His wings moved gently and gracefully. Then he fluttered into the sunny air. "I only sat still that long on your account," he said, balancing in the air in front of Bambi. "Now I'm going." That was how Bambi found the meadow. Well, that's the end of chapter 2. We'll continue on with chapter 3 next time. Have a great rest of your night. Bye for now.